with this Military Basketball Association's uh, championship series seeding reveal. Y'all's been waiting for it. Y'all asked for it. Y'all know what it is. First formation. Let's go.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work.
Fall in.
What's going on, high speeds? You gotta love formations on the weekend. I've had my fill of them, but this is a little different type of one. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Saturday, but y'all know what it is. Glad to bring you the Military Basketball Association's reveal as we go forth to look at who is going to be in Wichita Memorial Day weekend competing for the Military Basketball Association championship trophy at the end of the month. Of course, we got Coach Ace. Y'all, they're no strangers. Jason, how y'all doing this morning, gentlemen?
What's up? What's up? Good morning. Good morning. Beautiful day down here in the Peach State.
Hey, like you said, Trey, we all had our share. We've all had our share of Saturday morning formations. So
Hell no.
Come on, Top.
Hell no. Not even as a first. Sorry, was I a fan of that shit? No, sir.
Not a fan, but we've had them.
Yeah, I remember having to get up one morning to do one where the sergeant major came through. It's why because I did two different MOSs. I was field artillery initially, and then I went into culinary specialist. As being in field artillery, he came to sergeant major. He's like, "Hey, I want everyone, all the NCOs in the barracks," and he went through the barracks and basically tore the barracks apart, going in the bathroom. It was some of the stuff I was like, it gave a different meaning to Sergeant Major because he was doing stuff like taking his finger and running it along the underlip of the toilet and stuff. I was like, "Oh no, what are you doing, Sergeant Major?" So I was like,
"Oh yeah."
So
yeah,
so
in the drains.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's definitely a different. He showed his levels to being a leader in the NCO.
Yeah, they teach that. That's the Sergeant Major's Academy training right there.
But you don't see that no more, though. You don't see that no more. You can't do that. You can't go up in barracks no more. Everybody, there's no unit integrity in the in the barracks. It's like the single soldiers now. They're allowed to check in just like a regular married soldier, and wherever you can work on one side of post and live clear on the other side of post in any barracks now. Your neighbors could be artillery, infantrymen, medical people. It's just the days of consolidated barracks, unit level barracks. It's not there anymore. Remember the days when the supply sergeant and the first sergeant had the keys to all the rooms?
Oh yeah.
Now you got to go to a contractor to get them.
Yeah, totally different.
Get the key card. Go get the key card.
Go get your key card.
Oh, shit. See, that's how far behind I am. Key cards.
Yes, key card.
Hey, make sure you go see Sergeant Mr. Such and Such at Building 820 on the other side of us. Where you lock yourself out of the room.
We going to the hotel?
Yeah, pretty much.
So now, of course, you know what I'm saying, that there you go, you know what I'm saying, them yesteryears and back in the day, what we used to get in or how we used to do it. So differently, just no different of now, because due to technology, you're able to do stuff like this now. Come on and do reveals and give show and do shows to talk about the things in which you love. This particular thing in which we love to talk about now, the military basketball community, of course, is out there now. Just got finished with the National Military Basketball National Military Basketball Tournament. Now we have the Military Basketball Association front and center stage, just up front, like we're getting ready to present an award, but the award is not being presented yet. It's levels to this, gentlemen. Of course, we're here this morning to reveal the seedings for the MBA's tournament series as you got coming up in Wichita. at the end of this month, Memorial Day weekend. So if you don't have anything to do, that is where you should be, especially for those that support and love the military basketball. So two conferences, right, gentlemen? Y'all broke it down. Two conferences. Why not divisions? Just two conferences. What was behind the my thought process in that?
Jay,
Ace,
counsel.
you want to field that one first? You want me to?
No, you got that. That's conference business there.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, Trey, when you're talking two conferences, you talk about the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference
Yes.
Finals, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So over the last couple of years, when we've had the multiple conferences across the country, they have their regular season, they have their conference tournament, and then from there we go ahead and do our playoff situation where we kind of took the top one from each one and broke it into like the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals to give us playoffs to get into the NBA Finals. So that was what we've done in years past. This year, we kind of have a little bit of a change in the formatting to where the Eastern Conference Finals and Western Conference Finals is together all in one location. So using that multi-court facility in Wichita, it allows us to use 3 courts for the East and 3 courts for the West. Now, I will tell you the Eastern Conference Finals and Western Conference Finals this year is in name only, okay, because with the Atlantic not being as strong as it was and not as many teams, we didn't have the same format across the board with the 3 conferences where we could break it up, evenly to a West and an East. But traditionally, we did keep the name. So that's why we did what we did this year. But it all being under one roof, you could call it the Trayvon bracket and the Bishop bracket for all, it's just the name right now for what we're doing. But yeah, it allows them to play their way through just kind of like the NBA. If you look at it with the Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals thing, even though they are traditional East and West, we have a bigger dynamic. So we had to modify it for this year only.
Okay, good. Of course, I'm saying just in case. I'm very sure as people start to see where their number comes in at, they're going to probably question that. But of course, we got ahead of it, and now. So of course, as we go on, I know y'all can put something different in the comments as opposed to why are we playing against this team and they're here and they're here. So as he said,
well, but to add to that, Trey, you're going to have some teams that are geographically on the East in the quote unquote Western Conference Finals and have not seen those teams this year. So that brings another dynamic to it.
Of course, and in that dynamic, because it's competitively, what do you think about that? Should it really make a difference, regardless if you've seen or haven't seen that team in a year or whatever case like that, or it is what it is? Compete in state. Compete.
No, you got to get out there and compete. That's what being a coach is all about. It's not nobody's going to hand you anything. You got to get out there. Prime example is I was fortunate enough to make it out to the central tournament about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and that was the my whole end state there was to basically help out the staff there, but at the same time get a look at what the competition level was like. In the case we did end up facing some of those teams. So at the end of the day, you got we play 4 quarters, but you got 2 halves. You make adjustments as a coach, regardless whether you've seen the team or not, and keep it moving.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll say this, Trey. In today's day and age, like you mentioned earlier with technology, it doesn't matter if you physically seen the team or not. That's Everybody's out on social media, whether they're live streaming their own games, whether, it's another platform live streaming their games all through the season. So even if you're Camp Pendleton on the West Coast and you end up having to go up against a team like a Fort Benning on the East Coast, there's film out there for them this year. There's game film all over the place that you can go back through social media. So it's not like the days that you have no clue what you're going into or no clue who you're playing against. So with us being able to live stream a lot of these games and the coaches live streaming their games throughout the season, there is game film that these guys can go back and look at. So I don't think it's going to be much of a big deal. Plus, as a lot of our players and players around the military said, they just want to play ball.
Yeah.
And it don't matter who they face.
And Trey, and the beauty that goes back to the beauty of what we do, our format, meaning the base and base pure integrity. We can start. It's easy. I know what Jason's got this guy, this guy, this guy. So you can already, especially for guys like myself, Morgan, Al, Dave Anderson, Paris. These guys have been in the league now, 3, 4, 5 years. So they know what the teams look like. They know, especially like in the Marine Corps, when those guys PCS from one base to another, they kind of know, okay, well, this guy played for me. I know his strengths and weaknesses. So, there's no surprises. You know what I'm saying? When we show up to our playoffs, it's like, okay, there might be one or two new people that made the cut before the rosters were locked prior to the conference tournament started. But for the most part, you're going to see that same team in the playoffs, from the conference tournament all the way to the NBA finals.
Coaching styles too, Trey. Like Ace just said, we do have a lot of veteran coaches in the conferences. So though their team might be new, their coaching style is not. So if you face that team in the past, you know who's a running team, who likes to bang it down low. I mean, coaching style plays a huge part, I think, in this as well.
It does. Yep.
So one of the things what you were saying that kind of caught my ear, you talked about halves versus quarters. So I was watching a movie last night. If y'all haven't seen the movie Champions with Willie Harrison, pretty interesting movie. In which that came up where a guy was talking about, hey, this isn't the pros, or if this is, you have 20-minute halves, 10-minute opposed to the quarters. Why are you guys going with the quarter concept as opposed to the halves?
So I will tell you this: about 5 years ago, there was a switch.
Okay.
There was a switch at the college level to where the men's side stayed with the halves traditionally,
Correct.
but the women's side went to a quarter-based system like everybody else in the NBA, because the NBA plays the 12-minute quarters. And what it did was it gave us a different dynamic back then. And I did it for a year as a test basis to run the 4 10-minute quarters as opposed to 2 20-minute halves. And to be honest with you, the feedback that we received from the coaches back then was, we like it. We like it because you get the quarter breaks, so it's additional timeout without actually having to use it. Then we also went to with the 3 seconds and 1 full timeout like a regular media game does in the NCAA, women's and men's side. And then you also had advancement of the ball in the last 59-9 after a made basket or a rebound, which added a different dynamic in as well. And so it was kind of like a hodgepodge between NBA rules and women's college. So again, it was a test. The coaches loved it, so we kept it.
Okay. So of course you got people in the comments. Jim Burns, guys, you're doing an awesome job. Wooten, yes, I will be there. I'm trying to be there, so hopefully I see you. Jasmine Green, good morning. What's going on? NMBT.
Coach Green, congratulations champion on your championship.
Congratulations.
That's a high bar to set for your first year of coaching. I don't know really where to go from there.
I guess more championships in the state. That's what it is.
Right, exactly.
Of course, Latrina Black, what's going on? Super fan, supporter of military basketball.
Where Kirk at? Is Kirk out there?
Yeah, that's where Kirk at. We're missing.
That's the next one. The 2 super fans.
Super fans always pulling up where it's at, going in. So of course, you got people in the that's out there watching. Let's get to the seeding so we can see where these teams are and see how it's going to go. Of course, first up in which we're going to go, we're going to have, Kirk, look at it. You called it. It's like Candyman. You say his name 3 times, he appears. Kirk, what's good? What's going on?
Kirk,
he's up.
So, hey, Kirk is on another level. Hey, those coins he's giving out at all the tournaments, those things are sharp, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Always something it's bigger and better. So of course, like I said, starting out with the Western Conference, first and foremost, before we actually get into the with that comment, is there anything different between the Western and Eastern this year? Is it, from y'all standpoints, did y'all make it even in your opinion, or is there still depending because who's there, who's who? There might be a little shift. Who won the championship last year? What conference won the championship last year?
Well, it was technically the Atlantic that won the title last year.
Got you.
Okay, and then there was the Pac West the year before.
Okay.
So, but again, last year is last year. You know, you can't base this year off what happened last year.
A lot of changes,
So,
a lot of
a
surprises.
lot of changes, a lot of ebbs and flows in players and coaches and everything else. So your last year's team might not look the same. So, but when the committee got together, as far as what you're saying, Trey, you know, we used the end of regular season rankings to to start, you know, as a baseline. And then from there, the committee, you know, used the body of work from the regular season and the conference champions from the tournaments themselves as the basis. And then once we got it all shook out, then we saw where it was, and then tried to make the best balance we could. So,
Okay. So, of course, to no further avail, we'll just get into it. Western Conference Finals, of course, first team up. Oh, snap.
yeah,
There we go.
back them up.
First team up.
Finger,
First team up.
Teaser.
So we got number 9.
So number 9, West Texas Military Basketball. My dear friend, Coach Al Mayon. Don't get it twisted, okay? It's got a young team out there, very athletic. Just like any other coach, coach coming, as y'all know, or you probably don't know, Coach was gone to Belgium for about 2-3 years on a assignment with his wife, and was able to coach basketball there in MBA Europe. But now he's back, and he's trying to solidify his foundation, and he's got a great group of guys out there. Don't fall asleep on those guys, because they will sting you if you leave them out there and fall asleep on them, especially on the perimeter. They get to shooting those threes. It could be a long game for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so next up, Shepherd Air Force Base.
Coach Taylor from haven't had the pleasure of meeting Coach Taylor yet, but Shepherd Air Force Base has been a formidable opponent out there. I used to be in the Central about 3 years ago, and Shepherd was one of those avid teams that when they show up, they show up. When they don't, they have a bad game. But this year, they're right there. They're kind of, they've been on the bubble. Their mission at that base is takes a toll on some of their weekends. So we're definitely happy that they were able to qualify and participate this year. It's always good to see Shepherd, especially having them in the Central is great, because they're in a really strategic location where people can come to them and play. But again, they're going to compete. They are definitely going to compete.
Okay, number 7. From across the water,
The Rock is cooking, and I'm telling you, they cooking. Coach Green, I've had the pleasure of knowing him since, I'm going to tell my age here now. I was stationed in Heidelberg, Germany, 2000 to 2001 to 2005. I used to be out there with the Heidelberg Generals and the Mannheim Mustangs, and Coach Green was the assistant coach for the men's, and he leaded the women's team out there. Mastermind. I learned a lot from him. He worked with a gentleman, a legend called Coach Thomas Benson. Those guys, I used to just sit on the sideline and watch them just destroy teams, just in their tactics, the way the discipline of the team. It was just crazy. So Green's been there for my whole entire military career, plus some of my retirement years. He's still doing it, keeping Germany alive. And I know those guys from Baumholder are coming to represent, whether it's commercial flight or AMC
Trey,
flight, they gonna make it.
Yeah, AMC. So I'm gonna tell you this: Baumholder is a wild card. Okay, NBA Germany, NBA Europe. They have their season, but they don't get as much, I would say, publicity or hype, because they are overseas. So I mean, again, going back to the game film stuff I was talking about earlier, there is some stuff out there on them, okay, but you just don't know what you're gonna get. I mean, we know as far as the team, but you just don't know because you haven't had the pleasure or the experience to see them through an entire season like all the other teams here stateside.
Yeah.
So, I mean, bringing bomb holder Germany over here for this tournament is going to be is something else. And Coach Green just tapped in that Coach Jordan is the one actually coaching bomb holder this year. So, again, to me, they're just going to be a wild card in the tournament, and it's going to be interesting to see what they bring to the table.
But Trey, so and not to take away from Coach Jordan, now that you mentioned that, Jason, but I said Coach Green because I know Coach Green was the guy that actually put the team together and turned it over to Coach Jordan. So I know that some of that toolage is in the back, like you said, in the back room that's coming this way.
Yeah.
So bomb holder is live and coming to Kansas. Another reason for everyone to pull up is to see people from Germany come over to compete. To see what they doing over across the waters. Of course, going in the next one at number 6, Fort Worth JRB.
Fort Worth, our good old friend Andre Snowden. Snowden's always coming to compete. Unfortunately, they're going to be a little light this time, but I applaud him because whether he's got 6, 7, or 8, he's coming to compete. He's going to finish his commitment that he gave the conference commissioner in the league, and I really applaud him for that. He's going to come out here and fight with what he's got, and I wish you the best there, Coach Snowden.
So I'll tell you this, Trey, with Fort Worth, they had the Central's Conference tournament was there in the Fort Worth area, so essentially had a home tournament. And I know Coach Snowden, they didn't finish as well as they would have liked to, but they get another crack at it here just up the road in Wichita, so it's not too far of a travel for them. And he's experiencing some of the pitfalls that we all have military basketball across the board with who can and who can't show up due to different things going on. So, but with that, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see them reload and see how they come back after the Centrals tournament.
Okay, now getting into the hierarchy of the conference at number 5, Tinker Air Force Base.
Good old John Morgan holding down the fort at Tinker. They finally got their base name back, got a little bit of support behind the team. A little history on Coach Morgan. He's one of the members, foundation members of the Central Military Basketball League. I met Morgan damn near 10 years ago. Fierce competitor. Tinker used to be a force to be reckoned with. They're going to be again. We've coached on the same sideline together, and we've coached against each other. Do not count out the Tinker Falcons. They are coming to play. They got some nice pieces over there, and they will surprise some folks in their pool.
Right. And like Ace said, Trey, Coach Morgan's been around the Central for a long time. He also mixed in this year with Coach Tracy Walker as well, bringing another added component to the coaching staff there. And as far as this, that, and the other, so it's going to be interesting again to see what Tinker brings to the table.
At number 4, coming in, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base.
Yes, Davis-Monthan. One of our
out of the Pac West
has come a long, long, long way. I remember when me, Jason, and Mike used to be scared. Are they going to show up or are they not going to show up? Now they got Coach Miller out there running the program, okay? Because they got a program now, and those guys are out there. They are hooping. I mean, they are. I got it. We're all volunteers, and some of us can only do what we can do. But this gentleman here has taken the reins and has put that program on the tracks, and they are headed nothing but upward.
At number 3,
Okay, number 3. Who we got? Camp Pendleton, the Marine Corps, baby. Hey, hey, you already know Dave Anderson, but highly competitive, highly animated, high energy on that sideline. Got a lot of great pieces on that team. One of my favorites is Christopher Harris. I met Christopher Harris back in 2011 when I was part of the All Army staff. Hey, that young man has been hooping, has been a professional, is the face of that team. He leads those Marines very well. I've watched him year after year, coach, mentor, and lead those young Marines in the right direction, along with Coach Dave. As y'all know, they've been in Final Fours and championship games in the past 4 or 5 years. So the Marine Corps is always, I say again, always a threat. So don't get it twisted. Just because they are the 3 seed in the conference, them numbers don't mean nothing.
So I'll say this, Trey, real quick, and
yes, sir.
I want to go back to Davis Monson real fast.
Yes.
Yeah, Coach Dale Miller came in this year, and when he called me up, the first words out of his mouth was, "Hey Jay, thanks for the opportunity, and I'm about to transform this team into a program."
Yes,
and
sir.
he's done a great job down there this year with Davis Monson. They finished at 10-6 in the regular season. Had a good showing in the Pac West tournament, and I'm just excited for them to bring all the way. Chris Harris, Amazon Prime. I'm just excited to see Coach Miller here in Wichita, to see what Davis Monson could do traditionally coming out of the Pac West, and Camp Pendleton. Like Ace just said, what can you say about them? They've been in the finals for the last couple of years as far as championship games. They've been 1 to 2 shots away. They lost to Jacksonville a couple of years ago in the championship by 1 point. They lost to Luke a couple of years ago by 2 points. I mean, it's one of them teams that always is around, and then, like Ace said, the Marines will not give up. They can be down by 20. They can be up by 20. They're going to fight hard the whole time. So seeing Camp Pendleton and Coach David Anderson here, they're going to be a formidable opponent.
Okay, next up, coming in at the 2 spot, Fort Benning Yellow Jackets.
Well, first, before Ace starts with that team there, let me say this. So there's an update to this. As most people know, a lot of the Army bases have been changing. So Fort Benning will be Fort Moore. Okay, yes. So that'll be a change that happens here officially in the next couple of days. So we will update the slide from Fort Benning to Fort Moore. I don't know if Ace wants to talk about his team here, so I'll let him say a couple things about them.
I just want to first of all, I just want to thank Coach Jamal Glindsey. He's been on Fort Benning for about I might have the number wrong, but I know he was there 2 years before I got there, and he started putting the program back together. There was a program there, but as people PCS, people leave. Coach Little, that everybody knows, used to be there. Coach Howard Reed used to be there back in the day. And, you know how it goes. You PCS, next man up. And Coach Glindsey, my partner in crime down there, he's been doing an excellent job with the program. Those young guys, a lot of young guys have come a very, very long way. Traveled, it's always hard to travel, especially when you have a very young team of E3s and E4s. But these guys, with the planning and the proper notification up front, these guys have always been able to travel efficiently. But as far as them in this tournament, Coach Glindsey, been really pushing those guys at practice. They live or die by defense. All right, they're flying all over the floor, and I think I foresee them making some noise in the Western Conference bracket. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Nothing's gonna be given, but those guys they're up for the challenge, and they've been working hard just like anybody else these past 9 months.
Okay, so Jason, yes, Jason, please.
Let me go ahead and throw my little 2 cents here. So if anybody knows this team, it's probably me. And the reason I say that is not only obviously do I know Ace and his style of coaching, but Coach Glindsey, Jamal Glindsey, not only was a coach with me at Fort Riley, but was also a player for me before he got into coaching.
Yep.
Okay. And before that, he was a player for Coach Ace when they were at Fort Carson.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of history with this team and insight. And I'm just going to tell you this for all the teams out there, just give you a little tidbit if you don't know already. One thing that team will do is they will run you to death and they will press you 94 feet. So if you got Fort Harold Moore, as it was said there, in your bracket, be ready to break the press and be ready to run all game, because it is going to be helter-skelter, 94 by 50, pretty much the whole game. And that's not a secret, because teams saw that all year. This year, even though Fort Benning was in an atypical conference this year with the Atlantic not having that many teams and that many games, they did travel to a lot of tournaments. You know, was under Team Cure Cancer, had some guys up there at the Capital Classic. They just came from the NNT. They played at Mayport's LK tournament. So, I mean, again, there's a lot of film on them out there, but this is going to be a helter-skelter team representing the Atlantic that's going to be interesting to watch and be a tough out for any team they play.
So, of course, you got it. Of course, Coach spoke on it. Jason spoke on it. Understand there's a lot of history behind this squad. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to find out or be on the wrong end of finding that out.
Yep.
0430. You know what? I know all the time, like Deontay Claiborne always sit up and talk about that. Like when he that's all he talk about. He's like, man, he's like, I don't know if I was ready for this. So y'all got to know, Benny Yellow Jackets up early in the morning. So coming in.
Trey, I will tell you this. Hold on before you get to them. What Coach Ace does with that program, what he did at Carson, what he does at Benning. Yeah, man, those guys are up 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 workouts. You know, he's able to get them released from PT to come do the team practices. I mean, it is just like the blueprint for a program. It was like back being in college again.
Speaking of blueprints for a program, we're about to reveal who the number one team is in the Western Conference. With that being said, blueprint for a program, is that the same type of blueprint that we're about to find out? It what's got this team to this number one spot? Is it just, saying, does it happen by chance? Of course, we'll find out as we understand the number one team being Colorado Military Basketball. CMP in the building. What can we say about Colorado Military Basketball?
I mean, hey, Jason, we can tag team this again. Just like you said, Trey, a lot of history with Colorado Military Basketball. We're not going to go way back, but those guys out there, I met some of those guys that came in the Army as fuzzies. Y'all, everybody know what a fuzzy is, right? No rank on that chest.
No rank.
And just like somebody said on social media today, I was reading a comment where the AAU circuit at the kids level, high school level, is in competition with the high school coaches because they're not communicating this. It seems like there's a power struggle. Like, hey, those are my high school kids. I don't want them playing with you, XYZ. But it takes everyone to develop players. So, I had my chance with those guys out there back in 2011, 2012, I think, all the way from 2011 to 2016. I had my chance to pass on my knowledge to a lot of those young guys. Then Mike Myers came along and got to do the same thing for a couple years. We did it together, and then he did it by himself. And now Coach Alex Miller is out there doing his thing out there. He is definitely dedicated to those guys. I mean, hey, I wish I could have just flew over there to get on that airplane with those guys when they came down to the Central. That was really that's a lot of love for those guys. And when I looked at it from the outside looking in, I was like, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I know that, guys like Simpson, Lutz, Andre Nichols, Alex Dorval, all those guys that have been with the program since I was there are really, really appreciative of you, Coach Alex Miller. I mean, that's a lot of love and commitment, and the traveling that you do, just like I do, to get to the practices and mentor those guys. I know you still got a little game left in you. I know every once in a while you dress out, but I know that you know the game, and you're passing a lot of great information on to those guys. For those of y'all that don't know, Alex Miller is a Marine. I was about to say former Marine, but that's BS, because once a Marine, always a Marine.
Always a
He
Marine.
Yeah, he's a tough competitor. He was actually still playing a little either the year before or last year when he was actually on the floor with those guys, and inside game, outside game. Just needs to work on his conditioning because he's getting old. But hey, but CMB is doing their thing out there. I got to watch them play in the Central. They played those teams tough. They had a couple close calls, but as veterans, like the veterans that they have on the team, they were able to overcome, get it together, and close out games like a veteran team is supposed to do.
Yep. So I'll tell you this: what people don't remember, or if you're new to military basketball, 2 years ago CMB was 1-15. Okay, they did or 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago CMB went 1-15. They were in the infancy stages of becoming a team to transferring into a program. Okay, and over the last 3 years, they've been able to put it together. This year, they went 10-2 in the regular season. As you can see there, they were the regular season champion for the Central. All right,
Correct.
went to the Central's tournament in Fort Worth and ended up winning the belt. So I hope Alex Miller brings that belt with him down to Wichita, because that's what it was designed for. You beat the champ, you got to beat the champ, right? So bring the belt with you, display it proudly. Yeah. So yeah, 1-15. It was some dark days, but CMB, had a great year this year.
Yes.
Ace said, Coach Miller was playing for Coach Myers last year on that CMB team, but took over the reins. Coach Miller's gone through some growing pains as far as transitioning in from player to coach, because there's a lot more dynamic that you need, a lot more planning and preparation to do. And it was a great season for them. They have a
Yes.
very veteran squad there with the players they have. Not only did I get to see them obviously down in Fort Worth, but when they came out here to Fort Riley and they played them, they played them tough. They can adapt. To me, this CMB team can adapt. If you want to run, they'll run with you. If you want to slow the ball down and clog up the middle and make it a mucked up game where it's just a half court set, they can do that with you too. They just got a bunch of veteran ball players that can adjust. And I think that's what plays to their strengths. So it's going to be interesting because now there's a target on their back because they're coming in as the conference champ and the regular season champ. Are they going to be able to go all the way through? That's the question.
Trifecta. Hashtag trifecta when y'all talk about CMB. Of course, we had Alex Miller on Coach Miller on before, in which he talked about very humbling and looking at where they are. I watched him doing the Nationals, and his coaching style can come off brass, always in the ear of the referees and giving them basically fighting for his team. So I'm very sure that is going to be the same type of energy he's going to give at the MBA tournament and finals, of course, going forward. Can they complete the incredible run this season? Oh, well, of course, like I said, looking for that 3.
We will see.
Of course, for Coach X when he's in the same Western finals. So we got, as y'all see, the rankings for the Western Conference. Number 1, Colorado military basketball at 2. Benning 3. Camp Pendleton at 4. Davis Monthan Air Force Base at 5. Tinker Air Force Base at number 6. Coming in, we have Fort Worth JRB. 7. Bombholder. Got to watch out at 8. Shepherd Air Force Base at number 9. West Texas military basketball. But that's just half of it. You got a whole another side of this as we get ready to get into it. Going into the Eastern Conference, Before we get in there, was there any surprises here when in reference to the Eastern Conference before we actually start revealing these teams, gentlemen?
Most definitely. There's actually, in my opinion, there's 3 surprises in here that I will talk about. Well, 2 definitely of teams
Definitely.
that probably didn't have the greatest regular season, but turned it on when it counted.
Yep.
So I'm not going to say too much more about that. We'll see as these seedings get revealed.
Okay, let me get so I can set this up right quick. Going in with the first one for that in the Eastern Conference, coming in at number 10, Fort Campbell.
Hey, do not. I'm telling you right now. I know they're watching. I know Wooten and Boyd, Coach, are
Yeah,
all
Woosie,
watching.
yeah, you know Woosie.
I know Fort Campbell inside out. Do not just push that number away. Okay, they are gonna break some hearts. They are gonna make some people. They are gonna make some people cry. I'm telling you, right? Remember this day. Remember this day. They are gonna make some people cry. That's a tough team. One of the only teams in the MBA that has been together the longest. They got a veteran point guard. They got a veteran forward. They got a veteran center. They definitely got an all Army caliber coach that's done it at this level. Has won the conference before. Has I mean, they coming with a lot of experience, a lot of background tools. I mean, they got it all. So that 10. It's because of some of the things that went down in the conference, but the conference is over. Everybody's 0-0 again. So I'm telling you, remember what I tell you, Trey. Watch them closely.
And I was about to, but you got to the answer. It's like we're on Jeopardy. You gave me the answer before I hit you with the question, because I was about to say, if all this admiration and everything is being spoke of for Benning, why? I mean, correction, for them and Campbell, why a number 10 seed? But you spoke to it, basically some things in reference to the Atlanta Conference which take place. But of course, like anything else, it doesn't make a difference. The Lakers are a 7 seed, and we know they're about to win the NBA championship. So why can't they happen for?
Here
for
we
Campbell?
go with the Lakers. Let's stay on task, Trey. Let's stay on task.
I'm sorry. I got to plug anytime I get a chance.
Yeah, because then you're going to get Mike Myers jumping in on this and everything else. So let's stay on Fort Campbell.
Yeah.
I will tell you this: Fort Campbell was a little bit unfortunate this season because with them being in the Atlantic being so small this year and not having that much opportunity to play ball, and when they did show up to play, they might not have had everybody or anything else. So, they ended up probably losing some games that they shouldn't have or whatever. So their regular season wasn't like it typically was in the past. Okay. But with that regular season record and not having a conference tournament, that's pretty much what the committee had to go on. All right.
Okay.
So using their body of work and where their record was. So with all that, but like Ace said, once the ball goes up, everybody's 0-0, and everybody knows that Fort Campbell, a former conference champion for the Central, a former Eastern Conference Finals champion last year, Paul Parker at the helm, the Army, all the great veteran players that they have. I mean, if I'm in their bracket, I'm like, oh, we really got to play tough, and I know this is whiteboard material for them. So if they use it, they use it. Paul said laughable at best. I mean, it is what it is, but 0-0. Everyone's 0-0. You got to show up and play. So we'll see where they are and what they do and who they bring and how they perform. So, here we go.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, Trey. I was praying that they didn't end up in our pool. I was praying. I was like, I'm tired of Fort Campbell. I mean, we got a great relationship, great with the teams. The guys know each other very well, but man, those are some tough games. I tell you, I mean, it's unnecessary to be sweating that early in the conference in the tournament.
Trey, I'll give you this, and I'll give you your Lakers reference for the morning. Yes, it is. Fort Campbell's coming in at a lower seed than they probably should be based off of the regular season and stuff and the lack of a conference tournament, but they are kind of like the Lakers. They're a very talented team that pretty much got put where they got put coming in like the Lakers did. And now the same thing. The Lakers are starting to play ball. So we're going to see if Fort Campbell can show up to Wichita. Paul will be ready.
Basically, you catch fire at the right time to light their tournament side of the house ablaze. Coach, what's good, Coach Cal? See you in the comments. Coach Parker and Sam. So for Sam on the line, this will most definitely be a bulletin board material. Will Fort Campbell come out the East? I don't know. Paul said everything's laughable. They're ready, of course, but we're at 10. Like, keep in mind, we're at 10 right now, and we ain't even got the other 9 participants.
We ain't even got we ain't even got no further yet.
Yeah, we still saying that's a good question, Commissioner Myers. Coach Richardson was good. It really boils down to the teams that travel. Again, we always talk about military. If one thing you could definitely talk about in military basketball, if y'all have been listening the last couple of years or last year in which I've been doing this, and just in general, that's always the thing. How does the team travel? Will the teams travel? There's much more at stake at this point. Like Coach Commissioner Myers said, they playing on CBS Sports. Like, if this isn't a reason to come to sit up and, Mama, I made it, and, hit it with a smile, then, I mean, what else are y'all standing for? You've been contributing day in, day out, and now you have a little more added to this, so it's up. It's time to go. Wooten, I love Campbell in the finals. Oh, I'm very sure you do, Wooten, because if they're in the finals, you're in the finals.
I'm sure he's not a little biased there, is he?
Yeah, because what I want to hear, because he's been talking about is rotations. So I mean, this, this shining moment is all I say. Going into number 9, of course, that being the team out of San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston. What can we say about Fort Sam Houston?
So Coach Justin out there, a great guy. Keeping the program together out there after Coach Cal left. Like every team, they got some obstacles, some hurdles they got to get through. But, Coach is not letting any of that stuff stand in his way. Keeping those guys out there together. He's got one of my former players out there that was here for a couple years. Fort Sam, they were up at Shepherd, I think about a month ago, and I was watching how they were doing on Saturday, the first day. They didn't do well, and I was thinking to myself, well, dang, new team. They're probably trying to feel each other out. But I looked at the box score the next day. They came back and cleaned house. So I was like, okay, all right. So it looks like they're, they got something going on in there. And another thing is, they're in a good area down there where they could possibly, get some, especially this month right here, with all the conference tournaments being completed. It's up to the coaches to find something to do to keep their teams in what I call the bump. You got to keep that chemistry going. So hopefully Coach Jay down there doing his thing, keeping his guys ready to compete. Again, all these guys, all they want to do, they just want to play. They want to be able to compete and represent their installation the right way. So I think, by watching them at the Central, they gave some teams some really close runs. If I'm not mistaken, the game that I watched between them and CMB, I think it was either CMB or Fort Riley. It
was against Fort Riley in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, they fought. Now, Josh Knish had the last shot to tie the game, to take it into overtime at 81-81, and he got a good look at it and hit the rim and came back out. But don't count Fort Sam out either. They can play. They can play.
So Trey, I'll tell you this: Fort Sam to me is another wild card. Again, with Coach Cal leaving and Coach Justin Johnson, who was up at Dias before he came down to Fort Sam, it's going to be interesting to see, because like Ace said, it's not about who you have. It's about how you play at the right time. And
Yes, sir.
like Mike Richards said earlier, how do you travel? You could be the number one team and travel with 5 people and not show up,
Right.
or you could be the number 9 or 10 seed, show up fully loaded and catch fire at the right time. So I mean, with all the history here, as Mike said earlier, Fort Sam is the first MBA champion when we started. So did they do a run like that they had back then, where they came out of the Centrals tournament number 13, went to the championship game, then came to the finals and ran all the way through? I mean, or then you got, like, again, Paul Parker used to be a player at Fort Sam. So there's all these storylines here to go on. It's just a matter of, do you show up and do you show out?
Hey, and on top of that, I'm glad you said that, Jason. So talking about Coach Paul Parker, we're going to take it back a little bit more. Yes, he was a player at Fort Sam, and this is how committed he was. As y'all know, probably do know or do not know, Coach was a recruiter or worked in a some type of Army MEP station, and during the season, if I'm not mistaken, he ended up having the PCS or just move up the road 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and the commitment that guy had, still coming to practice whenever he could to be a part of the team, I looked at that highly. His defense, his motivation when he was still playing for Fort Sam way back in the day was one of the things that attracted me to invite him to come out and play with the CUSMBL All-Stars when we went to the Capital Classic one year. He's that type of, not just as a coach, but as a player back in the day. He's just that guy that brings that positive energy to your team. Whatever team he's on, what's my role? This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna make it happen. So, we go back real deep with Paul, and it's
And Trey,
speaking of Fort Sam. Hold on.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Speaking of Fort Sam, Coach Cal's the same way. You were just talking about traveling of 5 or 6 guys. It means a lot when you travel. If you got all your guys, or if you're traveling light. But I will tell you that I've seen Coach Cal, when he was with Fort Sam, travel with 5, 6, and the 6th guy being him. Because I was on the end of that. Okay, I was on the end of that in Kansas City when I was full up, and he just had one of those games where they could not miss, and they ended up eliminating us. That's when I was with Peterson Air Force Base. They ended up eliminating us to go to the championship game against Paul. So it's how you travel means a lot, but then again, it's if you show up to play also means a lot.
Jason, you were saying?
So, Trey, we've gone through 2 teams so far in the East, and the coaching dynamic here, like Ace just spoke about, right? And the ties, and we're not even into just the first 2 teams, but Justin has history in the Central. Okay. And as he chimes in, Justin has history in the Central from one team now down at Fort Sam. Paul has history in the Central, being a player at Fort Sam, then being a coach out there at Campbell. So, I mean, and then you mentioned Alex Miller earlier. I mean, the coaches are definitely going to work the officials. I mean, the dynamics that they do on the sideline is just great, because it's all chess game. It's all chess match. The entire game is a chess match. So I'm excited. And we're just in number 9.
I'm sorry, like you said, excitement, of course, continues to brew. Like I said, we're just at number 9. So coming in, let's continue to build on this Excite train. Choo leaving the building up. Number 8, Bavaria, another team from across the OC.
The waters.
What do you say about Bavaria?
Man, well, first of all, it's 2 teams now coming from Germany. When in the history of military basketball have you heard of 2 varsity teams being so committed to get on AMC flights or buying their own tickets to come and play in the NBA finals, or let it that in any tournament in the United States? That just speaks high volume of it by itself. Bavaria, don't really know a lot about them. They're kind of like another sleeper team. They're down the Bavaria area. For those of y'all that haven't been to Germany, they're down there in the Grafenwehr, Hohensfeld area, a place that I dreaded for years. Yeah,
Didn't we
y'all.
all?
Hey, if you've been there, you know why you don't like Grafenwehr and Hohensfeld.
If you
So,
know, you know.
you know. So, a lot of good basketball coming out of that area back in the day, back in the late '90s, early 2000s. Again, Coach Green, Mr. Green, Commissioner Green from MBA Europe has been doing an outstanding job. Keeping military basketball alive over there because he's basically the spokesman. And showing those guys what's going on over here in the United States as far as the competitive level of military ball. Bavaria, again, don't really know too much about them. That's why I'm saying they're going to be another sleeper. We kind of get clips of them, how they performed in their tournaments, how they finished. So it's going to be whoever's pool they end up in, they're going to have to do some studying really quick to find out who those guys are.
So yeah, another team, of course, bomb holder. Now Bavaria, you got to keep your eye on head on the swivel, basically, when it comes down to these teams. Coming in
Yep.
at number 7, Fort Riley.
Man,
A lot to say about Fort Riley, I'm sure. So, gentlemen, let's hear it.
Well, Fort Riley. I got a chance to watch them play twice in the Central. I would say, man, they're they're gonna surprise a lot of people. They kind of have the same structure foundation that Fort Benning does. They got some guys that are very athletic. They got a lot of 3-point shooters. You let them get started early. You might as well go ahead and burn your timeouts because if you let them get going, they are a deep shooting team. They're gonna live by the 3 or die by the 3. They don't have a lot of size, but the size that they do have, they use it well. They crash the boards, get a lot of rebounds, and they're off to the races. So very happy to see them come back into the league because Fort Riley had kind of fell asleep there for a couple years. It's just the dynamic of how they're built at Fort Riley. Two deployable divisions. I mean, not divisions. Brigades. So it's hard. It's hard out there, and Fort Riley is one of those heavy go to the field areas like Fort Stewart. So to do what those guys are doing and what the coach McClellan has been doing out there is I got to see it firsthand. So they're definitely going to be they're going to give those teams in their pool a serious headache. So come with your shoes strapped, your shoelaces tied tight, because they gonna hit you in the mouth from the beginning.
So before I get into Fort Riley, let's just back up to Bavaria real quick because I have an internet connection there. Like Coach Green said, Bavaria is the conference champions coming out of Europe. Okay. Ace already hit on the points about the Graf, Hohenfels, Vilsec area, and the basketball down there. So, I mean, being your conference champions, that's got to tell you something. Yep. So Coach Blackman down there, they're going to be coming over as well. They're not just coming to play a few games and go home. Neither one of them teams. I wouldn't expect that. So I'm expecting, again, Bavaria, like Sam, like Campbell, like Riley, is going to be a wild card. I mean, so far the East of 4 teams we're talking about here, all can do damage. Fort Riley knows my past with Fort Riley, where before I took the conferences, I was an assistant coach there. Team this year is that haven't seen Fort Riley. They are up and down, shoot the ball up in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. They have 4 quick guards. Oh, you can't hear me?
Yeah, it's robotic. It's going in and out for you, Jay.
All right, let me move. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, while he's talking, while he's moving around. just to keep adding on to Fort Riley, they're going to be, they're all over the floor too. So they're definitely going to be they're going to be a problem for whoever's in their pool and wherever they end up in the bracket. Whoever has to see them down the stretch, they're going to be a problem. Jason, you there?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep,
Yes,
yep.
sir.
Yeah. Okay, so I was just saying, Fort Riley's one of those helter-skelter teams with 4 guards that can get up and down the floor, shoot from anywhere on the court. They got a couple. They give a lot of teams mismatches because they'll play at the bigger guard spot, and they draw some bigs out where they have to match up because Riley will go almost with a 4 shoot, sometimes a 5 guard set with their big man being 6'1", and they just spread the floor, exploit the matchups. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Fort Riley don't need a shot clock. That ball's going up probably in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock, and it doesn't matter who shoots it. So, and they showed that in the Centrals tournament. And I think in the championship game when they got there against CMB after beating Cannon, it was just CMB had the experience of playing them. And again, CMB is one of those teams, like I said, that can adjust to however you play. So that's what I think happened with them there in that game. But like Ace mentioned, Fort Riley could potentially be a problem. If you're not ready for that helter-skelter, like Benning, that pressing, running, up and down the floor, fast-paced game, you're going to be sucking wind real quick. So it's going to be interesting to see after their run to the title game in the Central if they can reproduce that. And not to mention that Fort Riley's an hour and a half up the road from Wichita. So they are de facto home team here. Will they bring the crowd from Fort Riley? Will the garrison come down? Will the soldiers come down and support this team as pretty much a de facto home crowd? And what will that do to their stance? That's going to be interesting.
That is going to be having that home travel with a home. You talk about all the time how teams travel well. What about if your fan base travels well as well? To be put inside an arena, deafening sounds when your team is on the court. We will see. Okay, Commissioner Meyer said you're working on that, so he's always working his jelly in state. So
always.
Of course, able to see that. So we have 10 Campbell, 9 Sam Houston, 8 Bavaria, 7 Fort Riley. Continue with the countdown at number 6. We got MCAS Miramar, another surprising team, gentlemen. What can we say about Miramar?
So, man, Coach Nate out there, been knowing him since 2011, 2012 when he was on the All Marine team with Christopher Harris. Tough. Both of those gentlemen were tough, and they're still tough. As one of them still is a player, and now Coach Nate as a coach. Shit, I was scared to walk past him at the NMBT because he had that. From what I hear, he made Master Guns E9. I didn't want to get put at parade rest. Being a retiree. So I just kept it moving. He was out there helping. He was out there, being a right seat to Coach Dave. But Miramar, a huge surprise. I don't want to take away too much thunder away from Jason. But I was watching them, and if you go back onto the My MBA Global page, you will see that they were basically at the very bottom of the standings. And when I seen them come out and win the West, I was like, what happened? And I'm just going to slide it over to Jason now.
So, like Ace just said, Miramar is pretty much what people say Camp Pendleton South. All right, those two bases are real close to each other. And last year, Miramar players were playing with Pendleton because they didn't have a team of their own. Right. So going into this year, they made that split with Chris Levine and Nate, and they decided to stand up Miramar as a team. And through the regular season, it looked like, okay, you're a first-year team. You got half the people there. You're not doing that great. But they're another one. We got out to Vegas, and them boys showed up with a vengeance. They ran through. I mean, honestly, it didn't really happen until the quarterfinals because they went 0-2 in pool play. So it looked like, again, Miramar, bottom feeder team. They're going to fall out. They went 0-2 in pool play. And then the magic happened. That one shining moment, like you said earlier, Trey. They go into the game against Luke in the quarterfinals. Luke's the number 1 seed in the Pac West, and they upset him 62-61, right? After that, they caught fire. They win the semifinal game. They go into the championship game against San Diego. They knock them off, and here we are. Here we are with them. Remember, the last regular season standings, they were either 19th or 20th.
Yeah,
all right?
20th. I think they were 20th. Yep.
Then you come into after those standings, after the tournament, they bumped up to number 11 or 10. All right. So you had a 10-point jump right there based off of winning this conference tournament. So I'm going to tell you right now, this is just me. Winning a conference title changes you. All right. Because if Miramar doesn't win this title or they go 0-2 and get knocked out by Luke in the quarterfinals, it's of my opinion that they don't show up to Wichita. But now that you're the conference champion, you're the tournament champion, that puts a little something different. That puts a little more pump in your heart. You're not going to not show up to the NBA Finals as a conference champion. And this is another team right here that they're riding a wave. And they continue on this wave through the NBA tournament, through the finals. They're going to be another one. Another team that them and Fort Riley, to me, were the two surprises here that I said because of how they performed in the regular season.
Yeah.
Both of them didn't have great regular seasons, but had great runs in their conference tournaments. Going to the title game. So it's going to be interesting to see, can Miramar sustain what they did at that time, will be a month ago when we play in Las Vegas. So can they keep that going? And again, how are they going to travel? You're coming all the way from the West Coast of California out to the middle of the country to Wichita. Are you going to be able to bring the same players that you brought before? How bad do you want it? Or do you just want to be known as the Pac West champion, play your couple games and go home?
Yeah.
So Miramar's going to be interesting. It's another one, another wild card.
Another coach out there, Trey, building a program. You know, we got teams and we got programs. We're starting to get a lot of good former players that know military basketball, that know what it takes to run a program and bring commitment. You know, have guys bring commitment to what they're doing.
Ace's statement there about teams versus programs. There's a team and there's a program, and if you don't know what the difference is, you're probably a team. That's bottom line. If you're a program, you know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So that 6, like you said, Miramar, MCAS, Miramar. Marines,
we only halfway through.
Halfway through. Here we go again, just like the last conference, into the hierarchy of the conference. Then here we have number 5, Scott Air Force Base.
Scott. Another one of those teams that back in the day they were hit or miss.
Shaky.
Finally, what?
You didn't know if they were going to show up to regular season games, let alone the conference tournament.
And I used to be on fire. I was so mad at them because at that time I was part of the Central, way up there in Colorado. So, some of those. Sometimes I had to make those. What was it, Jason? 9-10 hour trips.
9-10 hour trips just to come to where Scott would leave after Saturday morning.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even show up for Sunday because there were only 5 guys.
I was so mad I didn't need no gas in my tank. We were rolling off of I was just hot, but they have turned it around. Coach Garrison, right, Jason?
Yep, Denny Garrison, one of the coaches there. Yep.
Turned it around. Quiet guy, former player at Travis Air Force Base back in the day. Ended up seeing them play in the Veterans Day tournament up in Colorado Springs last season, and they got some ballers over there. They got a gentleman that looks just like James Harden, but he's about 2 times bigger than James Harden, and is the glue to their team. He's got some shooters that surround him on the perimeter, just like the coach, kind of quiet. You know, they're playing hard. They're getting these W's. That's one of the teams that everybody needs to watch, because when you turn their back on them, they could be up on you by 20 real quick, real fast. I think they had a great run. They had a good run in the Veterans Day tournament last November. I didn't get a chance to see them in the Central Conference. I don't know how they finished. Jason, you can elaborate on that, but definitely another team from back in the day that is now has now turned into a program.
Okay.
Yeah, Scott Air Force Base is another one of those teams this year that brings a different dynamic. They're a smart, heady team with a good mix of veteran ball players and some younger guys now. They did suffer a loss in the conference tournament where one of their big guys did, I believe it was his Achilles that he blew out there. And
I think it's the guy I'm talking about, Jason. That same guy I'm talking about with the beard,
so
bald head with the beard.
Yep. So that kind of hurt them going into the NBA playoffs here. And I know that, but they got enough time, 5-6 weeks, to try to piece that together and try to fill the gap. But he was a big rebounder, strong scorer around the basket. But I know that's going to take a little bit of toll on them. But like I said, they're a veteran team now to the point that they are able to probably make that overcome. They did beat Fort Worth in the knockout stage of the Central, and then lost the next game that they played due to the injury. So, but like I said, they are one of them programs that used to be a team that everybody was worried about if they were going to show up, but now they've turned it around over the last couple of years with Josh over there to get to be to a program. Like last year, Scott Air Force Base, I think the turning point last year was when they drove from Illinois to Vegas to show up for the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was one heck of a drive just to show the commitment. Finally, they couldn't come to Fort Riley 4 or 5 hours down the road for a regular season game, but they could drive all the way to Vegas for the Western Conference Finals. But I think that was their turning point where they put this thing together, and that's bled over to this season with a solidified coaching staff there with Denny. And, some other guys, they got help. I got a chance to see them firsthand again when they came here with CMB to Riley in the regular season. And I just think, they're going to be one of them teams. If you let them play their game, they're going to be a problem.
Yes.
They can be a problem.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's going to be interesting.
Okay. So that's Scott at 5. At number 4, Fort Irwin.
Ooh, NTC. Not a place I want to think about, but a great place to probably have your guys focus at practice because it ain't nothing else to do out there. Coach Richardson, been with us about 2-3 years now, Jason?
A little longer, but yeah.
Has little by little built a little powerhouse out there, and they've been giving those Pac West teams some trouble. There's definitely, when you see Irwin in front of you, there's definitely something to think about and buckle down, because they are definitely not a pushover. They got a couple pieces over there that I've been tracking for a while now that are nice, and if you don't make some adjustments, Fort Irwin will take care of business and close out on you.
Yeah, like you said, A-State. Fort Irwin is just like where they're located at, out there just north of Barstow, California at NTC. They're gritty. Okay? Like you said, there ain't nothing out there, so you ain't got nothing to do but go out to the field and do your rotation and come back and play ball at the gym. But Coach Richardson, he's been fighting a good fight out there. Yep. He was able to get the program together about 3-4 years ago, and they were at first one of those teams that was kind of sketchy early on, but they've developed. They've shown up. They played. They had a successful season for the last 2-3 years, been in the top tier of the Pac West. This last tournament out at the Pac West tournament, they brought a good little fan base because they were only a couple hours away from Vegas, from Barstow and Fort Irwin. But they showed up, and they got some good guard play, some good bigs. They got a solid big out there. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Again, how do they travel from Fort Irwin, California, out to Wichita? If Mike brings his players, and he had 2 guys that I was talking with Coach Anderson about. They got, I think it was a small forward and a shooting guard that didn't even show up in Vegas at the time because of military commitment. But he said, Mike Richardson said they're gonna be there in Wichita. So, I mean, again, another team right now from 4 to 10. I think you could put anybody at any position right there from 4 to 10, and nobody would complain about where they're located based off of how they played. Yeah. So it's definitely going to be up in the air to me in the East.
but no one except for Wooten, because every time I say 10, he shivers like I said Mufasa. But
hey, man, it is what it is. Everybody's 0-0.
I told you, look at it, just as I started complaining about 10. Is you good? Y'all good?
Y'all good.
Y'all are good. Y'all are
Whiteboard
good.
material, baby. Use it and prove us wrong.
So, of course, we got, like you said, for Irwin. So next up, of course, if you know your math, before 4 comes 3. That being Nellis Air Force Base.
Nellis. Coach Collins has done an absolute phenomenal job out there, coming from what was that name of that base out there? Mountain Home. Where the hell is that at? Don't know. Don't care.
North Dakota.
All I know is that he's at Nellis Air Force Base, Las Vegas, and he's definitely made that team into a real legit program. Great guy, great coach. I've had many conversations with him when we do run cross paths. Last time I actually got to see him was again at the Veterans Day tournament last November. We ended up playing them in a very, very tough matchup to get into the basically the final into the championship game, and they actually took us down by in that tournament. So he's got some good pieces out there, a lot of great commitment, and to be in Las Vegas is a challenge already, because if you have a bunch of guys out there that are not committed, they're just too busy to hurry up and get off so they can be downtown somewhere. I mean, you're definitely going to have problems, and I don't think from what I can see in his program that's the issue, because those guys play really good basketball. Arian Foster, one of the players on his team, great guy, doing a lot of great things for the NBA. Nellis will be a contender as usual.
Yeah, so like Ace hit the key points there. Sean took over there a couple years ago. It's like Arian and Sean were following each other, because I know Arian was up at Mountain Home also prior to coming to Nellis, and I know both of them. They were on their knees praying to God. Thank you for getting me out of Idaho, as he said. So, and then end up in Las Vegas. I mean, that is one heck of a transition. So, yeah, Cal talking about they're a solid squad. So remember when Nellis came to the Pac-West tournament, Nellis didn't have their big man, their all Air Force player, and his name escapes me right now, but he was there supporting them, but he's got a bad wheel right now, and I don't know if he's going to be ready. We started together in Germany. Yep. I don't know if he's going to be ready or not, if he's coming to Vegas with them. But Nellis still, I mean, Nellis to me is the quintessential military basketball program. I mean, not only do they have a head coach, but they got a statistician and 2 other assistant coaches. So if someone's not able to make it during the regular season, you got the continuity there between the coaching staff to pick it up and drive on. And I mean, Nellis, Nate Hobbs. There you go, Mike. Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah. Hobbs is hobbled right now, but we're hoping that he'll be there with Nellis in Wichita. Don't know his status, but they are a tough team. They're always going to come to play. They're always deep. So again, I'm going to be surprised to see if Nellis is able to make that travel to Wichita and see what Sean brings to the table. But again, in my opinion, they could be the 3 seed. They could be the 10 seed right now. Now you could pick them out of a hat and put them, and everybody, pool's going to be insane.
So of course we have Nellis. You got that. So what I'm seeing here, interestingly enough, and I don't know if everyone else, and we talked about it, and I'm going to be the person to talk about, because we said someone's going to say something about it, even though we already know, is MCAS Miramar, Nellis Air Force Base, Fort Irwin, West, East. You know what? Disregard. We'll get into it in a second. Of course, now we at number 2. I mean, that's number 3. We're going to talk about it. But before we talk about it, we're going to try to finish out this list. At number 2, Luke Air Force Base.
Man.
Let's talk about it.
So first of all, I told Paris, if you're watching, I told you I was going to get your back. So what's the coach's name for the Lakers? Is it Ham? What's his first name?
Darvin Ham.
Darvin Ham. You call me Shaka Smart, I'm calling you Darvin Ham, damn it. Hey, Coach Paris, man, contender, knows what he's doing out there. Got to watch a really, really good game this past weekend against him and Lackland. It went down to the wire. Darian Donald still destroying cats out there, just crazy. In the game, give me the ball. Give him the ball. Give him the ball because he's going to take care of business. But Paris, Top Gun, man. Top Gun. Been doing a great job out there since we go all the way back to the very first NBA Finals where he was mad as hell at me because of the format. I think we only had, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, we only had one team coming out of the pool at Fountain Fort Carson.
One team. That's it.
And we had it was a blow-to-blow game between Peterson Air Force Base and Luke Air Force Base. And he had some heavy hitters. I mean, that was probably the biggest team I've ever seen him at. He had Lawson, he had Ali, man. Hey,
Brunson.
I mean, just seeing them walk into the gym was like, hey, here you go, man. Just go ahead and take that W because we're not going to be able to compete with you guys. But that was a knockdown drag game at Fountain Fort Carson, and luckily we ended up pulling it out. But he has been there every year, and he's done a phenomenal job with that program out there. And you want to know? There's people that ask me, where the programs are at. That's one of them right there. You go down there, watch how those guys come, prepare for the games. That's what you want to be a part of, when you play military basketball. All his guys are committed. You see the attention that goes on when there's timeouts and he's talking. It's a lovely thing to see. And again, he took some hits at the end of the conference there. Didn't complete the mission in the conference tournament, but that's okay. Because that's behind them now, and it's like Jason said, it's 0-0. It's come to play in Wichita, or you may be on. The end of your night might be Saturday night.
So I will tell you this about Luke Air Force Base. Let's just talk about a few things. Last year's runner-up for the NBA Finals. The year before, NBA champion. Right? If you ask Paris, when he took over that Luke Air Force Base team, there were a bunch of civilians on that team. Paris, by definition, is Paris's basketball team and Luke Air Force Base is the definition of military basketball in my mind. Mm-hmm. They are all active duty soldiers stationed at Luke Air Force Base. He has nobody from anywhere else, right? They're all there. They have took that team and built them into the top-notch military basketball program. And as it's shown, as Mike Richardson just put up there, he was the NMBT's Coach of the Year, right? So that just goes to show you Paris's dedication and hard work towards the program, right? As well as being named one of the All-Air Force coaches this year on the women's side. So that just goes to show you Paris's testament to his work. Now, I will tell you this. They have been a strong team and the top-notch in the Pac-West for the last 4 or 5 years. But let's be real. They got a humbling experience at the Pac-West tournament this year. And I think that was a wake-up call for Luke because they were 13-3 this year, right? With a couple of their losses coming at the end of the season to San Diego, that last week of the year, right? But before that, they were flying high, right? With a one-loss team. They were the number one seed going into the Pac-West. They won the regular season tournament, and they ran into that buzzsaw at Miramar. Right? Mm-hmm. That was a back-and-forth game. Like I said, it was a 62-61 ball game at the end. I think Luke needed that to wake them up. And better to have that loss in the conference tournament than to have that loss in the NBA Finals. And you could just see that going down to the NBA. That was a wake-up call. They went up against Not in Lackland, right? Or as T. Morris called them, Charleston South? I think what he called them. Charleston, South Carolina.
He just called it. He just called him Charleston.
So, Charleston. So going up against that team in the pool play and knocking them off, I think that loss to Miramar was kind of a wake up call and reset them. So and again they took a tough loss in the NMBT. I believe it was in the semifinal game. So we're just ready to see again. You're coming from Arizona to Wichita. how do you travel? I think that's the theme here for all these teams. How do you travel? And how well do you show up to show up?
So we had a question, and of course, in the chat, Christopher Mason. So I wonder who number one is. Well, Christopher, you don't have to say any
That's funny
much.
that Chris Mason would say that because we're about to find out.
Cannon Air Force Base, number one seed, Eastern Conference. What are we talking about? When we say Cannon, what's there to be said about Cannon Air
Man,
Force?
first of all, well, yeah, I'm gonna let Coach, the commissioner, talk about Coach. Okay, as we all know, um, um, it's kind of sad for me because I've been in this for a long time now, and Coach Al from Fort Bliss, I was actually on the road when he lost some players um, early in the morning as we left from the NMBT some years back. It was unfortunate. Kind of hit me hard. I still had another 12 hours to drive to get back to Colorado. So I'm gonna let Jason elaborate a little bit more on Cannon's head coach, but to keep the spirits high, and I don't want to just bring this down because I know we're here for a happy moment. Cannon Air Force Base, Clovis, New Mexico. Don't know what the Secretary of the Air Force was thinking when they put a base out there, but I hated going there. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. It was like driving through the Westerns when I was in Colorado back in 2011, 2012. That they were part of our division. We used to go down there and have to play them down. And I was like, man, this is like, man, I'm telling you, if you break down between Raton after you leave Raton and Clovis, you might as well just, hey, I hope you have some flashlights, some matches. So, hey, because there's nothing but sky and open westerns out there. I mean, it's crazy. I would pray. I mean, I pray every trip, but I was praying on those, especially hard on those trips, that we could make it all the way through that damn New Mexico desert and make it back. But Clovis, Cannon Air Force Base, been watching them since Coach Mo was a player. Then he turned around, came over there, took over the program, turned that program around, and gave me fits for years. I mean, it was a back and forth battle always between Peterson / Carson at the time and Cannon. Tough. Coach Mo, schemes and tactics. Two coaches that really knew each other very well. It was when we played those guys, no matter how, just kind of like the Campbell Benning rivalry. It's like we know what they got, we know what they do. It's who's coming to play and who's going to do it better that day. And that's exactly the type of basketball that Cannon plays. And now they got a center out there that's as long as Mutombo, and a point guard that's very, very highly skilled, knows the game, doesn't get rattled, and he's got some really good role players that surround. They got some really good role players that surround those two. There's no reason why, or no excuse why Cannon is at the top. They have performed. They've put in the work. Again, one of those places like NTC, there ain't nothing else to do but go to Wild Buffalo Wings, go to work, and go to practice. So I don't see, that's why they up there. They got time. They got time to put in that work and really be a competitive team. So, Coach Mason, I know you've taken the reins there. Good job to you, man. I know you miss Coach, man. I miss him too. But I know you will do well with those guys, and I know you guys will show up to compete.
So let me just start with the stats here. Cannon Air Force Base finished 10-2 in the regular season, tied CMB for the Central's regular season best record, but CMB had the better points, 4 points against, which is why they got the nod. They had a great regular season. As Ace said, they have 2 All Air Force ball players out there with a great supporting cast as well. They showed up to the Central's tournament in Fort Worth. They had a great run all the way up until the semifinal game. where they ran into that unorthodox Fort Riley team that was just a lot smaller than them, but they were able to run. And that, to me, was the difference in that game that knocked off Cannon. But, yeah, they had a great run in the semifinals in the West. I mean, in the Central leading into this. Like Ace said, Coach Quamir Harden, for those that didn't know, and I didn't have all the details, but some said he was at practice. Some say he was right outside the gym, but he had collapsed and I guess ended up passing away. I don't know if it was an actual heart attack or what it was. I didn't get all the details from Coach Mason, but that's a very tragic situation that happened out there. Kind of like, I think it threw all of us back for a loop. But Coach Mason, was a player with Cannon, assistant coach, coached the team last year in the finals. So this is not like new ground for him. So the fact, I know it was very close for them from when it happened to going down to the NMBT. And, I know they pulled out of that tournament. I don't think they wanted to, but it was probably the best thing for their program just because of the timing of it. So the fact that these guys are, putting on their shoes, straightening up their backs and coming down to which they got coaching their prayers. I know they got coaching their heart, and I need to come play for him. That team, and they're scary talent-wise. The added fact here of playing for their coach, who just passed away a couple weeks ago. Not even that, they're going to be a tough out. If they show up and play their game, again, it's going to be tough. I saw Richard Joe put in here, no San Diego. Yeah, Richard, to be honest with you, San Diego was in the tournament until yesterday when I talked to they pulled out. They said they had a where a lot of the ball players have seen, they're not going to have 5 players to pull out of the tournament as late as last night, actually, when I talked to their coach. They have San Diego in as one of the number 2 seeds in the West. But, due to, again, military mission and everything kind of set them off. And we're just looking forward to them, competing next year still in the Pac West and seeing how they can do. But, yeah, as of right now, they're going to be where they're going to be. So, we're looking forward to them playing next year. But, yeah, no, San Diego's not in the top 10 this year due to their mission that they got coming up. But, again, everybody's praying, for Cannon Air Force Base, back to that real quick, and Coach Q. And I know this weekend, if I remember, Chris said they're either actually in New Jersey or traveling to New Jersey this weekend because Coach Q services are going to be held on Monday and Tuesday of this upcoming week. So, pray for you guys on your travels out there. And, like we said earlier, anything that we can do from military basketball family, and that's not the NMBT, that's not the MBA is separate. That's any of us, anything that we can do to help you guys out, just let us know. But our thoughts and prayers are with you. But yeah, and just so everybody knows, these rankings were done actually prior to us hearing the news about Coach Q. So don't think that we gave Cannon a number 1 just because of what happened. It wasn't a sentimental number 1. It was a definitely earned number 1. So yeah, man. But again, 1 to 10, you could just jumble these things up and put them in a random generator, and I don't think anybody's going to argue with where the teams come out as the rankings.
And Trey, just for the audience, we were supposed to announce way back in either Monday night or Tuesday, and I know some of the coaches had some questions about what the delay was, and it was because some of these teams we wanted to give them some time to work out with their commands and their units, make sure that they could they did everything possible to try to make it. So that was the needed extension for doing it today. So for those of y'all that are watching, it wasn't because there was disorganization, as we were just wanting to give those few teams that needed the extra time a couple more days. So we really appreciate everybody for being patient and understanding.
And the caveat on Ace's thought there, as you see, we started off with a 24-team tournament. right? And we ended up here now today with 19. You know, it was a lot of like Ace said, last minute military stuff that teams didn't know if they were going to be get out of or whatever. And then with the teams traveling from Germany, we wanted to make confirmation to make sure that they were going to be able to make it. So at the end of the day, we ended up with 24 down to 19, but still 19 teams coming to Wichita, all playing under one roof, 3 courts for the East, 3 courts for the West. Even though it says East and West, you're still all in one location. We're going to have 6 courts going at one time, both tournaments. So it's pretty much like putting 2 tournaments together under one building. So,
hey, Jason, can you elaborate on the media devices for each court and the location?
So everybody knows we have our website for the MBA. It's www.mymbaglobal.com. Like we've done in the Pac West tournament, like we did in the Central tournament. All you got to do is go to that website, and on the top on the ticker where all the games will be once the brackets come out, we'll have up there. You hover over it and click the Watch Live link. We're gonna have all 6 courts live streamed in when we're in the facility over there. So yeah, you're going to it, Trey. So we'll have all the games live streamed. So all you have to do though is go to the website, hover over the top, click the Watch Live link, and it'll take you to whatever court that team is playing on. So it's our way to kind of centralize. So you're not having to go to this page for this game, this page for that game, this page for that game. So we're gonna have it all in one location.
Trey, it's great to have an IT guy like Jason.
I'm very sure it helps. It helps out. And of course, what Commissioner Meyer said, we do a test the day before just to make sure everything. So you have a question in the comments. Wooten asking, when do the pools come out?
Well, so now that the commissioner for the conferences and the council have finalized this, we're praying that nobody else drops out. But this is life. We live on Earth, and things happen. What you see and what's been publicized will be given over to Mr. Ted Albers, the orchestrator and the strategist behind our format. I would say here no later than the next 72 hours, you'll see what pool you're in. And I'm stretching it a little bit, guys. 72 hours just because I'm military. We always say 72 hours or less. It could be sooner, but as soon as it comes out, it will come out via the basketball president of operations, Coach Al Mayon, and the conference's commissioner, Jason LaFaciano. They will actually push it out when it's put together. We want to make sure that we look at all the times. It's a lot of games, so we want to make sure that there's no mistakes, no double prints, and release a professional product when it's ready to be released. So I would say 72 hours from the day, worst case scenario, Trey.
So yeah, and the caveat that, like Ace said, Coach Albers, now that he has the seedings, we'll go ahead and put our bracket together. He'll push that back out to me and Al as the president of basketball operations, and as myself being not only the conference commissioner but the tournament director for the tournament. We'll go ahead and QA/QC it, make sure we're good. We've already locked in our teams. We'll get that published out. It'll be published out on the NBA's Facebook page. It'll be published out on our Instagram page. It'll be published out on our website, in our chat groups for our coaches, because I know that's the next buildup. Now that you know who's in and where they're in, we want to know who do we play. So, like Ace said, no longer than probably 72 hours. All depends on when Coach Albers can put it together here, and then we'll go from there and get it published out.
Jason, elaborate on, regardless of what the pools look like or the seedings right now, all teams need to be prepared by
Friday the 26th at 1000 hours is when we'll have check-in, right, for all the teams. That's when we do our ID card checks and our orders checks and all that to make sure the teams are good to go. And once those teams are good, games will start at 11 o'clock on Friday.
And for those that make the championship game, that game doesn't start till Sunday evening at 1800 hours.
Right.
If it doesn't run into overtime or anything, it should be done by 1930 hours. For those that, I don't see why you would leave that late at night, but for those that are possibly considering leaving late that night, if there are flights leaving late that night, you kind of have a guide now when that game could possibly be over if you're not, or if you're in it, or if you're not in it.
So I'll Trey, real quick. I'll give a quick synopsis over as far as the schedule goes, just a broad stroke. Like we said, check-in will start at 1000 hours on Friday at Wichita Hoops, which is where Friday and Saturday's games will be played at. So make sure, they'll be there. They'll do check-in. Games will start at 1100 hours on Friday. And I believe our last hit time on Friday is 1900, 19 or 1700. I can't. It's all going to depend on that schedule there.
Yeah.
Saturday's game also be played over at Wichita Hoops, which is after we're done with the pool play on Friday. We'll get into the play-in and the quarterfinal games. Oh, Mike said we have an opening ceremony. That's right. So opening ceremonies will be at 09 at Wichita Hoops. So that'll be 09 opening ceremonies, 1000 check-in, 1100 first hit time for the games. That'll be on Friday. Then Saturday's games will go all the way with the play-in and the quarterfinals and the semifinals. And then once the conference semifinal games are done and we get down to our Final Four or our conference finals games, those held on Sunday at 11 o'clock at Wichita State University at 11. And then after that, those 11 o'clock games are played, we'll know who's going to be in the NBA Finals game. There is a semi-professional game that happens on Devlin Court at Wichita State at 1500. And then we come back at 1800 for the NBA title game. So the 11 o'clock winners will play at 1800. You have more than enough time in between to rest and recoup.
Yep. And we're followed by an WNBA game. Is that correct on TV?
I believe so, yes.
Yep. So just it's gonna come Sunday, we're gonna be hopping and popping, Trey. So Saturday night, you'll know who the final four teams are before people go to bed Saturday night.
Yep. So I see the Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese thing. So I mean, what people this is a little different than we've run the NBA Finals in the past, where we've had separate Eastern, separate Western Conference Finals at locations, then had a whole nother tournament for the military basketball finals. But I like the format this year because you're putting everybody under the same roof. You're playing all the way down to your conference finals. And then from there, your conference finals champions are going to play each other for the NBA title game. And I think that saves an entire extra tournament that we're playing. You don't have to spend that extra money on travel, on going to a whole nother location, on paying another entry fee. So, doing it this way to me, is a product of listening to our coaches last year during the season and at the coaching conference. And we were able to kind of condense it. And then we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes this year. And if it's a hit with the coaches and they like the fact that you're playing pretty much one game for the NBA title after your conference titles instead of, an entire other tournament, then, we'll evaluate it back with the powers that be and see what we're going to do. So.
And of course, that now it seems like it's open to strategy again, as always, as a coach, to if your team and then the commitment to your team and that discipline of resting, because now, like you said, it's not a whole time frame between another tournament. It's you're there and you're going. Everything's going to be going on. So definitely a whole different vibe. Now, coaches got a plan for this. Of course, you got to deal. We talked about before the expectation and the adrenaline going, especially if you're going to be playing in front of everybody. Everything's going on. So definitely, it gives a whole different look. Of course, like I tip my cap, of course, to the NBA and the powers that be, as Jason is saying, in planning it, everything ready to go. So key and foremost going, we'll be able to see what's going on. Wooten, I'm trying to. It's more right now. I say about 85%.
He's gonna be there.
Yes, I will be there.
Don't let him fake the funk on you, Wooten. He's gonna be there. It ain't but a short drive from Louisiana to Wichita.
Yeah, it's about
He'll be all right.
9 hours. So the expectation is I'm going to be there. But I mean, of course, like I said, like we was talking about all the West Coast and stuff. I may at some point, I don't know. By that time, I may not be in Louisiana. I may be in Irwin at that time frame. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey,
So you know what I'm saying, but potentially I might be making a move, taking my talents on back to the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Yay, West Coast, Compton in the building, Hub City, stand up. So,
hey, help us strengthen up that West Coast.
or you know what I'm saying, or I could be going to San Antonio, one of the two. I don't know how it's gonna go yet. But we will see, of course. Of course, Coach Cal said I'm not trying to encourage it, but there is a casino nearby.
There is this. So Trey,
That's
real quick,
to some people.
real quick. 15 minutes south of Wichita is a place called Mulvane. It's it's a Kansas Star Casino. Okay, it's about 15 minutes south of Wichita. So if that's what y'all thing is, have fun. But again, we were in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. So I mean, whatever. But last thing I was going to say here, this is the first time we're putting both tournaments under the same roof. Mm-hmm. It brings a different dynamic because you don't have to worry about watching the games live stream. If you're playing on court 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals, you can go on down to court 2 and see what's going on in the Western Conference Finals. Mm-hmm. Or as I was explaining to another coach, if you have 2 Marine Corps teams in this, one's in the East and one's in the West, and you're playing at 10 o'clock and they're playing at 12 o'clock, you know how strong that Marine Corps bond is. You can bring your team down a couple courts to support them while they bring their team down to support you. Or from the scouting aspect, if you think you know who you're going to play from the other conference, as we will here, you can definitely go and scout that team in person, 2 courts down.
Yep. Or watch it from your device.
Or that part, go rest and sit up and go get your rest and go watch it. Like I said, watch it from the device. Plenty different avenues and everything. Like I said, everyone's going off. Again, another notch in the cap of the Military Basketball Association, military basketball in general, after just coming off a huge event with the Nationals. Now we're going to the NBA championship in this format going forth. And then a couple of everything. So every spotlight is just shifting from one place to another, and then it shifts to another, and then another. And then next thing you know, we're back in the swing of things with the new 2023-24 season for military basketball in general. So state track is that weekend. So a lot going on. Wooten says, how far is Kansas? Might get a scholarship. Always keep the hopes and dreams alive, Wooten. Wichita. So,
or you can look to play Wichita State,
or that part. You know what I'm saying? He going for the big dog, Wichita State.
Hey, don't. It would not surprise me if you have coaches in the building. That's all I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. Would not surprise me.
Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to say one thing, Trey. There's a gentleman out here in Atlanta that's having a combine. He's a scout for Division I, Division II talent, and they're having a combine. I think it's January 3rd or 5th. Not January, June 3rd or 5th. I'll pass on the flyer to you so that you can push out. But I know we have a lot of players across the board here that still have their college eligibility left, and this is a great, once again, the military basketball at whatever, whether it's us, the NMBT, CMAC, WAMAC, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's looking out for these service members. And if they got college eligibility left, this is what this combine is looking for. So another opportunity, and I'll go ahead and share the flyer when this is done for those that may be interested.
Okay, definitely, of course, keeping on. So, of course, and keep in mind that's not the only thing in which the praise and promises come from the NBA. Of course, you have the Hall of Fame class being inducted and being put in. So that's another thing to look forward to and see if that's going to be on Friday, correct?
Yes, sir. Friday.
Thursday.
No. Nothing on Thursday, Trey. Everything's on Friday. Friday evening is the Hall of Fame.
Okay, Hall of Fame on Friday.
Yep.
So, of course, all those are being inducted. So that'd be one. If you've seen it before, you get a chance to see it again and say how they're doing that. So, a weekend chock full of things, and we still ain't even discuss and talk about the. This is still going on with the high schoolers.
Yes, sir.
3-point. So it's a weekend chock full of excitement for everyone to be a part of and come out and take and enjoy. Of course, Charlie was just talking about Hall of Fame ceremony be also an event. Josh Boyd asked the game start Saturday.
No,
As
games start Friday at
Friday.
1100 hours. Opening
1100 hours,
ceremonies at
Josh.
9, check-in at 10, game at 11. So put your passes in if they ain't already in.
Yeah, Josh Boyd, get your game up. Get your game up.
So this has been an immaculate formation this morning. I'm very sure we had plenty to come out get the information. Now that's all to be understood and new is, of course, the next part of it is the pool play. Who is in what pool? Who is playing against who? How is all going to go down? What the road looks like between the individuals in each conference. In reference to pools, is there anything in which I know y'all said it goes to someone else that handles the pool, but is there what? How many pools are we looking at in each division? Can we get a little peek into that hood?
So
Jason,
I'll say this. So
Yep.
again, I'm gonna talk to Coach Albers here shortly.
Roger.
But again, we have 9 teams on one side and 10 teams on the other side. So the 10-team format is probably going to be a 4-3-3 pool breakdown. Okay. And the other side with 9 teams is either going to be one of two. It's either going to be a 5-4 breakdown that we had in the Pac West in the past, or a 3-3-3 breakdown.
Okay.
So if it goes 3-3-3, boy, I'm gonna tell you, that's gonna be some tough 2 pool play games you're gonna have to play. And then now you turn around and you're a 3 seed out of your pool because you tripped up. You play a 1 seed from another pool that you might actually upset because you're really better than that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's gonna
a whole bunch of dynamic. A whole different
bunch of dynamic. And I will say this. Once I get the pool brackets and everything, I'll get with you and we'll set a date during the week that we can come back on. That way Bishop can be on as well. Because we need to blow his mind also with these pool play brackets and get his take on it.
Of course, I'm up for it always. Of course, it's going to be of course, like you was about to say, you can catch it on your device, sitting in the confines of your home, but I don't think it's going to be anything like sitting in the actual building and watching these things happen in front of you, unfolding in front of your eyes. So, of course, if you're able to get to the Wichita area, it's the Memorial Day weekend. It's like Friday. It's like taking on a job. You ain't got nothing to do. Pull up. You know what I'm saying? Let's see it. Of course, we'll continue to talk. I love you, Woo, man. You know what, Woo? This is what I say. Every time I see you with a comment, Woo, I think to myself, like, Woo, better come and back it up. Don't come and not and we ain't seen you playing a little bit. Don't come, you know what I'm saying, with that wrong energy, Woo. Come out and ball out, fam. Let's go. So of course, y'all see it, the Eastern Conference. Yes.
No, I was gonna say, so remember, the championship game, the NBA championship game on Sunday night is the game that's being televised live on CBS. So if you're in the area, come on in. We want you in the building, following semi-pro game. We're being televised live on CBS. We want to create that college atmosphere that Devlin Court and Wichita State can do. We already know they've hosted TBT events there. They've hosted many Division I games there. We're trying to pack that building down to put this thing on live television and create that environment. So if you're in the area, come through.
Yep. And before we run out of time, Trey, I just want to say on behalf of all of us here, man, your show makes a big difference. We appreciate you taking this time because I know you're Monday. You're during the week work guy. So for you to come out and give us this airtime today for 2 hours on a Saturday during your personal time, we really want to say thank you, man. We appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
I don't have office hours, so it's cool. However we get it, we can get it.
That's
You
why
know,
he's getting a new job, Ace.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? When we sit up and do things or whatever case like that, it's like in state. This is ours, so I can sit up and do it on the Sunday and the after. It's just a matter of making it work. So as anything, and of course, always here for y'all, always willing to talk and provide the platform, and of course, look at growing. So anytime, at any time, any point, anywhere, I'm there. I'm sure Bishop is as well. But I think his daughter's birthday is this weekend, so they're out celebrating. So shout out, you know what I'm saying, to see it. Happy birthday, little mama. So
All right.
y'all seen it here first and foremost today. Y'all was able to witness. So be on the lookout, watch, check all the social media sites to find out where and when, who you're playing, as he should be coming out at some point, just like the anything else, all the tournament shows. Just stay tuned and be on the lookout. So of course, if that's Jason or Ace has anything else, that's the show for today. Y'all basically formation is over. Y'all
We
can
in
go home,
Wichita.
enjoy the rest of your weekend. Maybe you got a new pep in your step because you know who you are, where you're going, and you know where to be come Memorial Day weekend. It's me,
Oh,
your
you
boy
know,
Trey.
you already know Wooten, Paul, and Boyd got a pep in their step now. That 10 seed.
The
Ooh.
10, number 10. You know what I'm saying? Look at it this way: y'all top 10 in y'all conference. That's, you know what I'm saying.
That part.
Hunt the good stuff. You know what I'm saying. I gotta use that MRT in me. Hunt the good stuff. So in case, like you say, in case, we greatly appreciate y'all tuning in this morning. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll holla back. Enjoy your day.
All
Peace.
right. Have a good one.